This. All right, so what was the thing that you said?
It's like a ball in the left hand.
Ball in the left hand. Okay. See if we can duplicate this. So here's a sphere. Is it like a softball, something you can wrap your whole hand around? I guess.
Yeah, like pretty much like the same size as the palm.
Okay.
Pretty big, I guess.
Yep. So if you have your object, I would go ahead and leave it in the middle of the world, like right at world space 0, 0, 0. Make sure that you freeze transformations on it, so everything's nice and neutral. 0 for the translate, 0 for the rotates, and 1 for the scale. And then also go ahead and delete history just so everything is normal. All right, so the first thing you want to do is group it. So with your ball selected, hit Control G, and that'll put the ball inside of a group. Like that. And so then this thing, this group, is actually the thing that you're going to parent constrain. So if you want it to follow along inside of the palm, probably a good thing to parent constrain it to would be the wrist joint. So I'll go ahead and make sure I can see my joints. Do X-ray, there we go. So this is the joint that I'm going to parent constrain to because my deformer joints are always visible and always in the right place. Unlike the IK or the FK joints, they may or may not stay in the right place. So the joint I want to use is the deformer joint. So for that, I will select my wrist joint first, then holding Command, I'll select my ball group second, come up here to constrain, and make sure that maintain offset is turned off this time. And then when you hit apply, it'll snap it in place like that. Then since the group is actually the thing that's parent constraint, which has these little light blue colors, that indicates a constraint, I can still move the ball around because it's inside of the group and it doesn't affect anything. So now if my character moves around, you can see that the ball is staying in his hand, no problem.
Okay.
You can even add keyframe animation if you needed to reposition it a little bit, like maybe his fingers are moving. You could have different keyframe positions for the ball on like frame 15 and then different keyframe position on frame 30 if his hand changes shape.
Okay, and I'm still able to, because in the animation, he's like throwing it up. So because it's parent constraint, am I still able to like separate it from the hand if I want to by moving the ball?
Yeah, there would be two ways that I would do that. One would be you could only have one ball in the scene and have very good control over turning this off and turning this on, the parent constraint that is. So if the character was like tossing the ball up in the air, the whole time the ball is in their hands, I would have the parent constraint turned on. And then the moment that the character lets go, you can turn that off and the ball no longer follows along with the hand, so it can fly in a normal arc. But what I would actually recommend as an easier way of doing it would be to have 2 balls in the scene. So one that follows the hand. So that's anytime the character is holding it, this thing is visible, so you can have its visibility turned on.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the character throws it up in the air, you flip it off like that, like by selecting the visibility, turning it off, and then having another ball that's basically just a duplicate and flipping the visibility of this one on at that point. And both of these are keyframeable attributes. So here you can see it has a little red tick now because I right-clicked on it and said key selected. And you can see it here in the timeline. If later I said off like that, and then keyframe that, so you can see it turns off and on the visibility.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually, I find that to be way easier with animating props like this. Like this is kind of what I would describe as a prop animation, and usually I'll animate with two like duplicate props. One where there's a constraint on it, so it's easy to animate when the character's holding it. And then the other is just free, and it can animate on its own and fly through the air. And if the character moves their arm around, it doesn't affect the ball when it's in the air. Because if it wasn't like that, then anytime the character repositions the hand, it's going to affect the position of the ball in the air because it's still constrained to it.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
Cool.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.